Welcome to Global Glimpses, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. In June 2025, a freight train from China arrived at Tehran's Apron Dry Port, marking the official launch of a new overland rail corridor. This 10,400-kilometer railway is a modern iron silk road connecting China's manufacturing might with Iran's energy resources. The first shipment, crude oil and solar panels, signaled a new era of diverse, direct trade between two nations long isolated by Western powers. More than just infrastructure, this rail line is a bold declaration. The China-Iran partnership is real, reshaping Eurasian trade. It's a cornerstone of China's Belt and Road Initiative and Iran's ambition to become a central hub between East and West. This Iron Silk Road is set to redefine supply chains, reroute energy flows, and shift the balance of power across Eurasia. The new rail corridor's biggest advantage is speed, cutting the China-Iran journey from 40 days by sea to just 15 by land. Faster delivery means more agile supply chains, lower costs, and a competitive edge for both Chinese and Iranian businesses. The railway bypasses maritime choke points like the Malacca and Hormuz Straits, which are vulnerable to piracy, conflict, and political instability. Overland, the train travels securely through Central Asia, far from contested waters. For China, this route eases the Malacca dilemma, its dependence on US-patrolled sea lanes. For Iran, it's a lifeline that sidesteps the naval threats of the Persian Gulf. The result, a resilient, reliable trade route, insulated from maritime risks and blockades. This corridor is not just faster, it's strategically safer. For Iran, this rail link is a vital workaround to Western sanctions that have crippled its oil exports and economy. Overland trade is harder to monitor or block, and payments can bypass the US financial system, often using alternative currencies or barter. China, undeterred by US pressure, remains Iran's top oil buyer, formalized by a $400 billion 25-year partnership. The railway cements this relationship, ensuring oil flows and revenue for Iran, regardless of Western sanctions. It's a vehicle of defiance, proof that Iran can operate outside the Western-led economic order and survive. China's relentless push for a transcontinental rail corridor is driven by a blend of energy security concerns and a far-reaching vision for global influence. As the world's largest importer of oil, China's economic engine depends on a steady, uninterrupted flow of energy resources. This dependency has shaped its strategic priorities, compelling Beijing to seek alternatives to traditional maritime routes that are vulnerable to disruption. Much of China's imported oil passes through the narrow Strait of Malacca, a maritime choke point heavily monitored and, in times of crisis, potentially controlled by the US and its allies. Any blockade or conflict in this region could threaten China's energy lifeline, making the country acutely aware of its maritime vulnerabilities. By building an overland rail route stretching from China through Central Asia to Iran, Beijing is actively diversifying its supply chains. This land corridor offers a direct, secure alternative for transporting goods and energy, reducing reliance on contested sea lanes and minimizing the risk of naval blockades. The rail link is a cornerstone of the Belt and Road Initiative, China's ambitious plan to connect its industrial heartland with the energy-rich Middle East and lucrative markets beyond. It's not just about moving goods, it's about weaving a web of infrastructure that binds economies together and extends China's reach across continents. Through this corridor, China deepens its economic and political influence in Central Asia, forging new partnerships and counterbalancing Western-backed projects like the India-Middle East-Europe corridor. These relationships are built on trade, investment, and shared interests in regional stability. In exchange for access to discounted Iranian oil, China is investing heavily in Iran's infrastructure, constructing railways, modernizing ports, and upgrading energy facilities. This mutual dependence is forging a long-term alliance, with both nations benefiting from increased connectivity and economic growth. For China, this partnership secures a stable, non-Western source of energy and strengthens its hand in global affairs. It's a calculated move to reduce exposure to external pressures and assert its status as a rising superpower. Ultimately, the China-Iran rail line stands as both a strategic shield and a powerful symbol of China's growing autonomy, an iron artery fueling its ambitions and reshaping the balance of power across Eurasia. The China-Iran rail corridor is a geopolitical game-changer, challenging U.S. dominance in the Middle East and Central Asia. By creating a direct land link, China and Iran form a new economic bloc, undermining the effectiveness of Western sanctions. Other nations, watching closely, see a blueprint for resisting U.S. economic pressure. Regional powers like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are hedging, balancing ties between Washington and Beijing. The result, a more complex, multipolar Middle East where U.S. influence is no longer guaranteed. The corridor is a physical sign of a world moving beyond U.S. unipolarity. It accelerates the rise of a coalition, China, Iran, and Russia, reshaping the global order. The rail corridor's launch came amid escalating Middle East conflict with Israel and the U.S. targeting Iranian infrastructure. These attacks exposed Iran's vulnerability and made a secure overland route to China a strategic necessity. China responded with rare diplomatic support for Iran, condemning Israeli strikes at the UN and signaling a firmer alliance. Iran, meanwhile, shored up ties with Central Asian neighbors like Tajikistan and Turkmenistan to secure the railway's path. These agreements ensured the corridor's smooth operation, even as conflict raged elsewhere. The railway became both an economic lifeline and a strategic shield for Iran. In a volatile region, the corridor is a stabilizing force and a symbol of shifting alliances. The China-Iran rail line is the backbone of a new network transforming Central Asia's economic landscape. Stretching across thousands of kilometers, this ambitious corridor is not just a feat of engineering, but a symbol of a new era for the region. Where once vast deserts and rugged mountains separated nations, now steel tracks bring them together, forging links that promise prosperity and growth. Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, once landlocked and isolated, are now vital transit hubs, collecting fees and attracting investment. Their rail stations bustle with activity as goods from China, Iran, and beyond pass through, creating new jobs and opportunities for local communities. These countries are no longer just stops along the way. They are becoming essential players in the global supply chain, with their economies benefiting from increased trade and international attention. Kazakhstan's upgraded rail links and Turkmenistan's new cooperation with Iran have turned geography into opportunity. Modern infrastructure, high-speed trains, and streamlined customs procedures are making cross-border trade faster and more efficient than ever before. These improvements are not only boosting exports, but also encouraging foreign companies to invest in logistics, warehousing, and manufacturing along the route. A 2024 rail summit in Tehran brought together China, Iran, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkey to coordinate a transcontinental network. At this historic gathering, leaders discussed harmonizing regulations, improving connectivity, and ensuring the smooth flow of goods across borders. The summit marked a turning point, signaling a shared commitment to building a seamless rail corridor that stretches from East Asia to Europe. The vision, an uninterrupted land route from the Pacific to the Atlantic, eventually connecting to Europe, represents a bold step toward a more interconnected world. This corridor will allow goods to travel faster and more reliably than ever before, reducing shipping times and costs for businesses across continents. For Central Asia, it means greater access to global markets and a chance to play a pivotal role in international trade. This network also complements projects like the International North-South Transport Corridor, linking Russia to India via Iran. By connecting multiple trade routes, Central Asia is positioning itself as a strategic bridge between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, further enhancing its importance on the world stage. Central Asia is becoming a crossroads of global commerce, moving from isolation to integration. The region's railways are now lifelines, carrying not just goods but also ideas, cultures, and opportunities across borders. As more trains traverse these tracks, the bonds between nations grow stronger, and the promise of shared prosperity becomes ever more real. The region's fortunes are rising with every train that crosses its borders. With each journey, Central Asia moves closer to fulfilling its potential as a vital link in the global economy, shaping a future defined by connection, cooperation, and growth. The China-Iran rail corridor is sending shockwaves through Western capitals, raising urgent questions about the future of global trade and power. This ambitious railway, stretching across deserts and mountains, is more than just a line on a map. It's a symbol of shifting alliances and the growing reach of China's economic vision. By connecting Iran directly to China, the corridor exposes the limits of Western sanctions and the diminishing leverage of U.S. economic pressure. Goods now move more freely, sidestepping traditional bottlenecks and the restrictions once imposed by the West. The railway is rapidly creating a new, sanction-resistant trade ecosystem, allowing Iran to access global markets and China to secure vital energy and trade routes. This development is undermining efforts to isolate Iran and is making it harder for the West to counter China's expanding influence. As the corridor grows, it complicates Western strategies to contain Iran and check China's ambitions, forcing policymakers to confront a new reality where old tools are less effective. For the United States, this is a significant setback. Years of economic pressure are being challenged by new infrastructure and partnerships that bypass American influence. Meanwhile, it's a major victory for China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is steadily weaving a web of connectivity across Eurasia. Europe, too, faces a dilemma. The corridor strengthens Iran, but it also promises faster, more efficient trade routes to Asia, potentially boosting European economies. European businesses and governments must weigh the benefits of improved access to Asian markets against the risks of empowering Iran and deepening dependence on China. The West is now forced to rethink its approach, gathering diplomats and strategists to devise new responses. The old playbook of sanctions and isolation is losing its effectiveness in this new era of connectivity. As these traditional tools lose their bite, Western leaders are searching for innovative strategies, ones that can compete with the appeal of China's infrastructure investments and economic partnerships. One possible path forward is to offer Central Asian nations better economic partnerships, investments, and incentives, providing alternatives to China's growing influence and ensuring the region remains open to Western engagement. For now, the West is largely reacting, holding urgent meetings, monitoring developments, and trying to keep pace with the rapid changes unfolding across Eurasia. Meanwhile, China and Iran are actively redrawing the economic map of the region, forging new connections and alliances that could reshape the balance of power for years to come. The China-Iran rail corridor is more than a trade route. It's a test of Western influence and adaptability in a rapidly changing world, where the rules of engagement are being rewritten before our eyes. The China-Iran rail route is redrawing the map of global trade and power. China and Iran are the clear winners, securing energy, revenue, and strategic autonomy. Central Asian nations, once isolated, now thrive as key links in a dynamic trade network. The US and its allies see their influence wane, as sanctions and maritime control lose effectiveness. The world is shifting toward a multipolar order, with Eurasia at its heart. As the network expands, trade will grow, alliances will shift, and the rules of global commerce will be rewritten. The journey of that first train is just the beginning of a new era.